basically join in when they can. Awesome. Now you see my screen.
Yes, all good.
Perfect. Now, I would love to know as well where you're all coming from. I know some of you already, but yeah, comment in the chat where you're all joining from. And I'm going to do a little poll. I'm just going to ask you, where are you at in your pet photography stage? Let me just do a poll. Awesome. All right. Don't know whether this will work. Hopefully things will come up. If you're in between, just awesome. Perfect. All right. So everyone's just beginning. Perfect. And someone's a pro. Who's a pro?
I've been doing it for like 6 or 7 years for a company, but I just started my own studio.
Awesome. That's great to know, Rachel. Perfect. So, welcome to Mastering Pet Photography. This is the first series of a couple of series webinars that I'm doing. Today, we are just going to cover Lightroom. So you're in the right place if you're new to pet photography and when you start editing images like a pro. Rachel, you probably know some of this stuff already, but hopefully you can learn a few things or some new things, or maybe pick up different ways of doing things.
Yeah, there's always new things to learn, sure.
That's right. And you've tried editing before, but you feel overwhelmed by all the sliders and tools in Lightroom, and you're excited to improve your pet photos and create images you're proud of. So if any of this sounds like you're in the right place, and let's get into it. So today we're going to cover the introduction and some modules, some of the basic stuff. I'm going to go over those pretty quickly because what I'm going to do is actually demo on how to edit a photo and things like that. So that way we actually get into more of the practical stuff. So these are just sort of like, the theories. Lightroom modules, importing, file management, culling, rating photos, and how I do it. And then we'll go on to the Lightroom edits. Let me introduce myself. Some of you already know me, but for those who don't, my name is Imagen. I am the owner and photographer at Imagen Photography. I am a full-time professional pet photographer, and I've been doing this for 5 years now. Full-time for just over 3 years, and I specialize in outdoor dog photography, although I do photograph all pets, and I have a home studio where I photograph dogs as well and other pets, like cats, rabbits, you name it. I am a Sony digital imaging advocate, which is how you find me on Sony Scene, and I'm a dog mom to 3 Havanese. As you can see in the photo, I've got on the bottom image here, on the left, I've got Rosie, Pippa, and James. So they're my little models, and James and Pippa sometimes come along with me to some of my photo walk now that they're a bit better at modeling outdoors. Yeah, so that's a bit about me. I've been doing pet photography. At the start, I started because of my dog Mac, and he was sick. He was only 9 when he passed away from heart failure, and I was looking for a pet photographer back then, but I couldn't find someone outdoor doing pet photography outdoor who can really capture his personality and also his connection to me, because he's a bit particular about people as well. So I feel like he can sense when people are not dog people. So he's the reason why I started this business. Is I did photography as a hobby, and I had a side hustle business. But really, after he passed away, I thought, well, this is something that is missing in the market in Canberra, where I am, and I started researching more about pet photography and learned a lot through podcasts, Facebook groups and online courses. And then in 2020, I then did a coaching program with a business coach who specialized in pet photography, and went, from generating nothing to generating pretty good, income for my pet photography business, and then it just evolved from there. So it's been quite a journey, and a great one for sure. And now I am, I guess, teaching and sharing what I've learned with others. So yes, awesome. So photo editing, why do we need to edit a photograph? Obviously, editing photograph can enhance it. You want to change the brightness, tone, the contrast, especially if you're using mirrorless cameras, SLR, and you're taking photos in RAW file. Those RAW file will need to be processed to edit it to make it look nice. And also, editing changes how your final photograph looks, how it looks and feel, the vibes, and also will reflect your photography style. So, one photo can be edited many different ways by different photographers, because it depends on your style. And if you still haven't worked out your style, if you don't know your style yet, that's okay. It took me quite a couple of years to sort of figure out my style, and the way I did that was just practicing, trying different ways of editing, trying different kind of tones. Obviously you've got more. Some people like a moodier image, darker. Some people like bright and airy. Some people like more warm tones, which is me, as you can see from my photos. If you also follow me on Instagram, you'll see my style is quite warm and vibrant. Some people like more of the cooler sort of tones. So really editing these photos is, basically going to change the look and feel, and reflects your style. And it's good to, figure out what your style is and have a consistent style, especially if you're aiming to, run a photography business, because you want to showcase your photos to clients, and you want to make sure that clients can see those photos and see, oh yes, that's a photo that's taken by, taken by Rachel. If you've got inconsistent styles, your client don't know what to expect from you. So that's the main reason. But as beginners, it's just a nice way to edit them and change the look and feel and how the photos, give some kind of mood. Lightroom. So in Lightroom is where I start all my editing, because I do photograph in RAW. So I would import everything in Lightroom using the library module. Library module is basically used for importing, organizing, comparing, and selecting photos. So I use it for culling. And then the develop module is there to basically edit your photos, adjusting colors, tones, masks, brightness, vibrance, and colors. So those are the two main modules that I'll go through tonight. There are other modules in Lightroom, like the slideshows and printing and things like that, but really these are the two main modules that I operate in. The library module, as I said, that's where you import photos, you manage and organize your photos. You can add keywords. If you don't do this, that's okay, but I do this just so I can easily find, certain photos, especially if, say, a company or a brand approach me and they want to purchase photos I've already captured, so I can easily find it. So usual keywords that I use are breeds, locations, seasons, things like that, so I can easily find them. So you can probably see here, I've got small dogs, dog, actions, dachshunds, spring, oodle. So if I'm looking for specific breeds or specific settings, I can look for that here. And you can also update your metadata, title, caption, copyright in here as well. And you can do a quick develop, so just the basic setting, the tones and white balance in here, but I usually leave that to the develop module, which is where I go next. So this is where you edit your photos and change your tone, color, brightness. The tone curves is here as well as sharpening, noise reduction, and lens correction. You've also got cropping, and then the remove tool, which basically is like a clone stamp or healing. The remove tool is a bit iffy, but I'll go into that a bit later. And then masking as well. So since the start of since I started using Lightroom, Lightroom has developed really progressed quite well. There's more tools now that I can use in Lightroom. A lot of time I try to edit every single thing as much as I can in Lightroom before taking it to Photoshop. Where I would take it to Photoshop is where Lightroom can't edit it. For example, removing the person here or the harness. Sometimes the remove tool can do a good job, generative AI remove tool. Sometimes it doesn't do a good job. But also with the generative AI remove tool, the quality isn't as great as well. So if I am printing these large, then it's going to affect the quality. So I usually use generative AI as a last resort. And some useful features in Lightroom, as I said, remove tool, the generative remove with improved object creation has been sort of launched recently. Using the generative AI to remove leashes, and that it does okay sometimes, but in other times it doesn't. So you just have to try it out. If it doesn't work, then leave it to Photoshop. We've also got adaptive presets now, which basically is the presets is saved settings really. But the adaptive preset basically using masking as a preset. So you can say, dramatic sky. You'll select the sky and make it more dramatic. That's how what adaptive presets are. Now, before I go on, are there any questions? No. If let me check the chat. If there are any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself. Awesome. All right, so importing and organizing photos, and I'll go through this in Lightroom as well. It's important to have a good folder structure and consistent naming convention. So you want to make sure you've got some kind of structure. For me, I've got my files by year, and then for each folder I have the date of the shoot and then the dog's name. You can add a keyword to photos, as I mentioned, to make it easy to find, especially if you're looking to submit your photos for stock photography. And then I use the library module for culling. So different people do culling differently. So obviously you want to tailor it to how you want to do it, but I wanted to share my process. I use the star rating, so you can rate the images from 0 to 5 stars, and you can easily do that just using the keyboard. So 0 for no star, 1 for 1, 5 for 5 stars, therefore. So you can just easily do that, and you just go next, and then really quickly cull photos as you go. I do 5 stars to shortlist it if I want to include it in the gallery where I'm going to show it to my clients. 2 stars if there are 2, sorry, there's a spelling mistake there, 2 or more images that I need to edit to merge together. So for example, like this photo here, I had to do a head swap because in one photo I've got this dog looking, but this dog was looking away. And then the next photo I took was this dog looking, and then this dog was looking away. Or if I can't get them to sort of sit or stand in the same focal plane because I shoot wide open. If they are slightly, if one is slightly more forward than the other, I only focus on one dog when I'm photographing multiple dogs. So I want to make sure they're on the same focal plane. So if they are not, and it's hard to move them mentioned, I usually just quickly focus on one, next photo, focus on the other, and then I do a merge head swap in Photoshop. And I'll be covering that in the Photoshop workshop. And then any images that are blurry or unusable, I usually reject it. As I mentioned, keep a consistent folder structure. Use the star ratings, color labels, or flags. So there's also color labels that you can use instead of stars. So you've got, I think, red, yellow, green, blue, purple, and white, or and no label, and flags. Basically, flags, not flagged. You can use it. I use the color labels for basically organizing for what's getting printed in what. So that's why I'm using the star ratings. Use smart previews, which speeds up, culling and editing, especially on Flow Machine. And don't get stuck in perfectionism. Sometimes you've got like multiple images that looks alike. Just pick one. And what I do as well, I do a first cull, like a really, really quick first cull. I'll just, mark it a star rating, and then I'll go through a second round and look at it in more details. And then if I look at, the photo that I did, the 5-star might not be as nice, I'll unflag that and select another photo. But yeah, don't get stuck in perfectionism, and make sure you keep it simple and repeatable, especially if you're doing this. For me, I do between 2 to 5 shoots a week. And when it's busy season, I don't have time to spend on computer culling and editing. So just make sure you keep this process simple and repeatable. All right. Now the develop module. So we've got the basic panel, which is basically where all your basic adjustments are in terms of tones. I usually start at the top with the white balance. For me, as I mentioned, I like my photos warmer, so I usually make the temperature much warmer and higher. And if it's a bit too green, then I'll increase the magenta. So I'll look at the photo and see how it goes. You can use this color picker to select a reasonably white or neutral tone in the image, and you can, it automatically works out the white balance, but usually I do some manual adjustment myself. And then you can adjust the tone, so exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, whites and blacks, and I'll explain that as I go through the edits as well. So shadows, you're bringing out the shadows, and then I don't touch the contrast as much because the whites and blacks also increase the contrast. So we'll go through that when we go through the editing. And then texture and clarity can be adjusted. I do this very light-handedly because if you increase it too much, it can make the photo look crunchy and it just looks a bit unnatural. So you want to be very light-handed with it. And then vibrance and saturation. Vibrance, I would use more than saturation. Saturation will just make the color hit saturated. So I go with vibrance, so it's a bit less harsh in terms of bringing the adjustments up for colors. And then you've got the tone curve below that. Now it's basically the same thing. You've got the highlights and the shadows and lights and darks. It basically does similar thing as the basic panel. However, it just gives you a bit more precise control over the shadows, midtones, and highlights. You can also adjust the tone curves for the 3 color channels, so RGB, red, green, and blue. So it gives a bit more control over the atmosphere and look in your pictures. And you can, for example, if you like a more cinematic look, you can go into the colors and, the red and cyan and make it a bit more cyan or sepia, things like that. And a simple adjustment can really brighten or dull a specific color. When you're taking photos, I just want to know, don't be afraid of extreme low light. So you can see in the corner here, that is the raw file straight out of camera. And this is the Lightroom adjustment. So editing in Lightroom can bring up the exposure and details in dark areas. But if you overexpose and you click the white, so click the brightest part of the image, it's going to be hard to bring back details. So you can't bring back details in highlights. You can bring up the exposure and details in dark areas. So as you can see, it's very dark in the dog there, but I can see down here and the bokeh, it's already quite bright, and that's why I decided to underexpose in that photos. Yes, bringing the exposure will then also create noise, but there's you've got the denoise in Lightroom, which is really, really good now, or I use Topaz Denoise, which is an external program. Colors. So this is a new feature introduced probably in the last year, probably the year before, and point color. So before I used the color mixture, which is HSL color mixture, and I would have to look at, drag each color and change it there. But I love the point color, this one here, where you can just use the eyedropper, select the color in the photo and adjust the hue and saturation and luminosity of that color. You can use that in masking as well. So it's really great. It enables more powerful and precise color editing. Color grading also works a similar way, but based on the midtones, shadows, and highlights, and it can change the feeling of the photo. So you can transform a rise with rich warm colors into an icy, more Arctic skin. So Arctic scene that feels, quite cool. So yeah, masking has improved a lot, as I mentioned. At the start, you don't really have masking that great. Now you've got subject masking, sky masking, background, objects. You've also got range, either color range or luminosity range, and radial gradients, linear and brush, and also people. So you can actually select the people, select their facial skin, or body skin, eyes, and things like that. What I use for masking is brighten the eyes, usually to add some life to the image, add a glow dehaze to the background for like a dreamy sunflower effect, adding some more details to fur selectively without over sharpening everything, and creating adjustments to subject only without changing the background, or vice versa, changing the hue, tones, and color of the background without affecting the subject. So this is an example. This is a raw file that I took. This is adjusting just the tones and exposure to sort of what my style would be using basic panel. As you can see, it looks nicer, warmer, brings out a bit more of the shadows, tone down some of the highlights, and then this is where I selected the background and used point color to change the hue of the background to make it a similar tone to the dog. So it just makes it look different, right? It has a different feel to it. Again, you can use it for your, I guess, creative, working out your style. If you like this, or you can change it to a more moody color, cooler color, to create a more, sort of cold effect. This is another photo, raw file straight out of camera, and then some adjusting the tones using the basic panel. Awesome. So I'm going to go into Lightroom now. So let me make sure I share the right screen. Give me a second. Let me find my screen. All right. Share screen. Hopefully you can see my windows. Can you see it now? Yep. Hopefully. So I'm going to go through this photo here. This is the file straight out of camera. This is one that I've edited previously. We're going to go in here and edit. So let me minimize some of these zoom windows. So in the develop module, we're in the develop module. Now usually I look at the histogram, and the histogram is on the top right here. Can I just ask if does any of you understand how to read the histogram? Feel free to unmute.
Yeah, I understand.
Awesome. I'll just do a quick coverage of it. The histogram is basically the tone curve which shows the tones of the image. So a balanced, well-balanced image. Let's see if I can darks, the blacks. To the right, it's a highlights and whites. So in this photo, just I did underexpose it. You can see it leans more to the left because it's dark. If I say bring up the exposure, when overexposed, you can see the curve just goes to the right. So I try and look at this to make sure there's no big spikes. And yeah, so let's reset this. All right, so as I said, I start by going to the white balance, and then because it is quite dark, I'm going to bring up the shadows, but as you can see here, the shadows didn't do much. So usually the next thing, I won't bring it up too far. I'm going to bring up the exposure slightly. And then I'm also going to bring it up there. Don't want to lose the blacks. And then I'm going to bring up the whites. Now with the whites, I have to be careful not to bring it up too much because otherwise it's going to lose details, especially in these bright areas here where the sun's coming through. So one way to do that is you can see on the histogram, if I press J on the keyboard, can you see that it's highlighted there? And then as I bring up the white, you can see where those red spots are. That means the whites are clipped and there's no more detail in that. So I would probably bring it down to about here. I'm going to bring out the highlights to maybe reduce some of those clips. And then with this, it's still red here. So I'm going to work on that using masking. I might bring back the blacks a little bit so I don't lose details in that after bringing it up. So I'll just bring up exposure a bit more. That looks really good. Texture, I might add a bit of texture, maybe 2. And I'm going to pop a bit of vibrance. So you can see with vibrance, it just brings up the vibrance slightly, but if I do saturation, it's going to be way too much, really. So that's why I use vibrance rather than saturation. So that's already looking great. So if I go from that to that, I might actually bring up magenta slightly. With a white balance, as I said, you can use this to pick up a neutral color and work out the white balance. But as you can see, I don't like that because that looks really green for me. So I undo that. All right, now I'm going to go and fix this bright clipped highlights. So I can use either a brush or linear gradient. I'm going to use a linear gradient because that bottom part is quite bright. Just going to bring that up. Oops, undo that. I'm going to drag it up to here as well. And I'm going to subtract subject. And then I'm going to reduce the highlights. Let me bring down the whites a bit just to remove that clipping. So that's fixed that issue there. And I'm going to press J to remove that. And then I'm going to add a bit of more brightness around the face here. So I'm just going to zoom in and go create mask and select subject. Now this is selecting the whole thing, but I don't want it to change the whole subject. I just want it to affect certain areas of the subject. So instead of putting subtract, I'm going to actually hold the Option or Alt key. When you hold the Option or Alt key, that's going to change from add subtract to intersect. And then I can use a brush, and what that means is you can still see that the subject is highlighted, but as soon as I brush, and even if I brush here, it's not going to brush the background. So it's just going to say, allow me to select the brush within that subject initial selection. So I'm just going to actually undo that, reduce the flow just a little bit here. slightly. And because of the shade, it's usually a bit cooler, I'm going to warm it up a tad. So just to bring it up a tad. Alright, and then I'm going to zoom in and go create a mask. I'm going to use brush. So Pip here is an older dog. She's a 14-year-old Kelpie. She's deaf and also I think she has trouble seeing as well. I'm going to darken the eyes a little bit, the pupils here, just a tad. So they bring up the shadows. I'm just going to bring down the blacks. Then I'm going to create another mask. Just bring out the colors on the outside. Increase the saturation, maybe temperature, and the whites just to make it pop. So you can sort of see it very, very lightly, not too much. So that's quite nice. All right, and then what else am I going to do? I think that's pretty good. I can use the remove tool to remove a couple of things here. So here I've got this hair coming out. I'm gonna get rid of this sun rays on her face, this dot here, and then this little eye groovy. And I'll leave the other little specks as it is, just little bits and pieces. I'll show you how it works with the leashes as well, but I don't have an example in this one because we had layer off leash. Alright, and then just go remove. Hopefully that works. See, using the remove tool is annoying because it takes a long time and it's got a thing. I'm just gonna look at the chat. Yeah, what a sweetheart. Yeah, she is a sweetheart. She's just a gorgeous dog. I'm very happy with this photo. Yeah, so you can see how long it takes. If I have to do this for like a lot of photos, I'm just like, I don't want to do it. All right, let's see what it's done. Just gonna, it's actually done not too bad job. That's pretty good. Awesome. So really that's all I would do here. So we've gone from that to that. Again, if you want to change, the colors to bring out a bit more, of the goldens, or if you want to change the greens to something else, you can go either use the mixer or point color, and then select the greens. Selected here, you can make the range wider or smaller, and then you can just go change the hue saturation, make it a bit more warmer tone, like the I guess the dog. You can change the saturation, and luminosity is just how bright the brightness. And then I would do that again. Who's joined in? Hey Chris. Whoops. And then I would, you can just change the little bits and pieces that you can see here. I'm just changing a color. I'm going to make the range. Change the saturation of the hue. You can see here, because it's a similar tone to the dog, it's going to change the dog. So in this case, I would do that, and I would actually go into the masking and go background, and then change it here. Use the point color, and then change it to a more sort of orangey tone. So there you go. So obviously that kind of creates a different feel to that. There's also, I'm I'm going to undo all those. So yeah, so I did the glow haze and this one. All right, let's go back into here. I'm going to delete that. Delete. And then my color, remove this. I want to enhance the sort of the sun rays. So I can go into mask, radial gradient, just put a radial gradient kind of like where the sun's coming from, so the light coming from the back diagonally there. Don't worry, it's overlapping the subject, because what I'm going to do then is subtract, select subject, so it doesn't affect pip in the photo. If the subject didn't do so well, you can fix that bit later, but let's leave it as it is. And then what I'm going to do is go down here and into dehaze and just like create a dehaze effect around there. And then I'm going to increase the temperature to make it warmer. So you can see how that adds just a nice touch. It looks like the sun coming from the top there. So yeah, awesome. So that's one photo. Another one that we can do is I'm going to reset this one here. This is another straight out of camera. This is one I've edited, or this is a different one that I've edited, but it's going to be very similar. So when you do have a lot of similar photos, when I do the culling, so if I go into here, when I do the culling, I usually just select all the ones that I want to apply the edits for. So say, for example, okay, this one hasn't been edited. I change that and go select all of that. That's the edits that I want to use there. Right click, develop setting, sync. I want to make sure that's all taken similar way. I would choose the masking, but I remove the remove and crop tool. And I will just synchronize it. As you can see, it applies the same sort of edits. So I'll undo that. I'll go back into here. And again, similar things in here. You've got some whites here, so you can try and use that to get the white balance, but it hasn't really picked the one I like, so I'm just going to make it a bit warmer. One thing I do adjust everything manually, as you can see. You can try auto settings, which sometimes does a good job, but for me, I like to have control in the editing, so I tend to actually just I just do it all manually, because then I have a bit more control over it, and it's the way that I like. So turn that on, bring that up, reduce the highlights, bring down the blacks again, the vibrance. And then I've also created the color haze as a preset. So the way to do that is when you've done a preset, or when you do a mask. So say I'm going to do the glow haze. Where's the light coming from? Kind of back there. Subtract subject, and then dehaze. Not too much, and increase the warmth. Now what you can do is click on the plus, create preset, and you can either select the whole thing if you want to create your setting, all of your setting as a preset, or you can just create masking. So that's what I've done with this one here. I've done something like a vignette as well, so that's basically a radial gradient, and I can just move it and adjust it. Vignettes you can also adjust here under effects, so post-crop vignetting, but I like a bit more control over mine. I'm a control freak, so that's why I like to use the radial gradient instead, so I can control how it looks and sort of positioning and things like that. So Now, any questions? Let me check the chat. Any questions? Please unmute if you've got a question. No? No one has a question? All right. So, yeah, that's basically all the Lightroom tools. It's just using this main adjustment. So, the basic panel, the tone curve. Again, here, as I mentioned, you can go select background and adjust the color. So here, you can make greens a bit more orange and maybe desaturate it a little to red. Darken it up. And then selecting another color, browns, and just bringing that down. And really playing around, selecting as however many colors you want, and just adjusting it as you like. And then subject, you can then bring up the whites. Make sure hit J so that I can not clip the highlights. Just bring up the color and bring up the eyes, brush. You can increase the sharpness here as well. That just makes it pop a lot more. Then you can also adjust the color cast. So with white dogs and black dogs, you can get some color cast. Let's see if I can find, see from the sun here. You can see a little bit of color cast here, but not so much. Let me see if I can find a better photo that shows you color cast. This one here. So you can see a bit of color cast there. Editing, bit of green. Trying to find a better photo that shows a bit more. So you can see a little bit, not too much, especially down here. You can see a little bit. So what you can do as well is use that color, point color, to adjust the color cast by just reducing the hue and saturation. And then with black dogs, I will show you black dogs. Yes, here, this is probably a good example. Yeah, this is a good example where color cast can happen because of the area. So this is, you've got the magentas and then you've got the cyan. And you can see it's reflected in some of these. So subject and then use intersect, do color range and select just the blacks. I want to remove that from face. Just work on those areas and then you can just adjust either by the hue. So if it's too blues, you can like pick out, some of these colors here. You can see it's quite blue. Just bring down the saturation. You might want to work a few places because it's going to be quite a bit of purples and magentas here. Just bring it down slightly, and then some reds. So you can, it's very lightly noticeable. For me, I pay attention to the colors a lot as you start photographing lots of different dogs and colors. I guess you can see when a photo is too cool or too green or too cyan or too magenta. So what what were the camera settings for this photo? Yeah, that's it, Michael. So I shoot everything, well, most of my photos at 1.8 or f2 that's what I love. And my clients know that. So, for example, like these ones here, again, these are shot at f2, so you can see the creaminess of the bokeh. It just looks really, really nice. And again, here I measure the placements of the clients or the subjects. They're in the same focal plane so that they're both in focus. Obviously, this is quite the same focal plane. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Lightroom. Now let me get back to other useful tools. So batch editing, I mentioned that. Batch editing to improve efficiency or use a software like Imagen AI. I'll talk about that shortly. Spot removal tool and the remove tool with generative AI, and then using presets for it. Now, Imagen AI, I've started using it now over the last maybe year or so. Can I ask who here have heard of Imagen AI? Or if you haven't heard of it, has anyone heard of it? You've heard of it, Rachel? Are you using it? You unmute?
I haven't used it, no. I've been playing with Adobe AI recently, but not Imagen. Yeah.
How are you finding Adobe?
Yeah, interesting. I've only done one job with it so far, so keen to get some more jobs and keep playing with it.
Awesome. Well, Imagen AI is, there's a lot of different AI tools out there. There's Photo, there's Aftershoot, there's also Narrative. It's basically an AI-powered editing tool that can learn your editing style and applies it to the photos automatically. There are also, if you now with creating your own profile with Imagen AI, you do need at least 5,000 photos from your Lightroom catalog, I believe. So that's 5,000 edited photos in the Lightroom catalog. So the raw, edited raw, not you need to create your own profile. But if you don't have that many, you can also choose from 20 AI profiles that people have, other leading photographers have offered in there. Why do I use it? It saves time. It can edit entire session in minutes, not hours, and has consistent edits, and it can learn my style. Also, you do have a culling option with Imagen, but for me, I'm not ready to give that up yet because also I find Imagen it works better with more people with culling. With pets, there's still quite a bit to go, but I know they're working on some features behind the scenes. If you want, I can show you the interface. So, all right. So I did attempt the culling with this one. So you can probably see, but I had to go through it quite a lot, and you can see how it selects the photos and it matches. So it selects 2 stars for the similar ones. Now this is my first shoot with the new A1 Mark II, and I used the pre-capture. I had pre-capture on, so it took a lot of photos, more than what I usually take. So usually for a shoot like this, an hour, I take around between 150 to 300 photos, maximum maybe 200 for one dog. But I had 700 for this one, so that's why I thought I'd use this for culling. But let me see if I can create a quick project. I'm just gonna quickly select the ones as 0 stars so that I can go. Alright, let's just select, let's do 1 star. Just do a few different plays. That way you can see you how it looks with different settings or different locations and lightings. Alright, so I have to close Lightroom for Imagen to work. Then go create a new project, edit, choose the Lightroom catalog, and then choose the project, and then I can go filter by how many stars. I've already edited it, so I'm just going to choose show photos with 1 star and go next. You can select if you've got, if it's a wedding, events, portraits. But portraits is mainly for people, so I just don't do that and go edit. So there's the photo selected, go edit. So this is using my profile. As you can see, there's other profiles there, but I'm going to use my profile, go edit. And then it takes a few minutes. So you kind of I just do other stuff. I can't open Lightroom while it's doing it, so I would do other stuff. But you can see that took a few seconds. And go. And it's doing some editing now. Hopefully it won't take too long, so I uploaded it pretty quickly. Let's just wait for it. Hopefully, because it's only 8 photos, it won't take that long. Last time it took about maybe 5 minutes. That was 40 photos. While it's doing that, I'm just going to stop sharing. Any questions now? Any questions? No? Hi, Sam.
See you, Kevin. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
Oh, hello. Yeah, if you haven't got any questions, I'm just gonna wait for a few minutes if you guys don't mind waiting. And anyway, let me get back to my screen. I'll share my desktop. So yes, with Imagen, you can get started Imagen with some free AI edits, and you don't need a credit card to start with. So if you scan this QR code or use the link, you'll get 1,500 free AI edits. If you go on their website currently, I think you can get 1,000 free edits, but with the link that I've provided in there and the QR code, you get an extra 500 edits. So if you want to give it a try, feel free to scan that and sign up. You don't need a credit card, so it won't bill you. You can, in terms of the price, you can pay either per month or you can pay per usage. And what I do is pay per usage. And I think if I do about 40 photos, it costs me like $4 or $5. Right, so now it's done. I'm going to download it to review, download the edits, and open the Lightroom catalog. But it's done. So reads equal to 1. It's just loading edits. There you go. So you can see it's actually done a pretty good job. That's before, after, before, after. And that's, I probably wouldn't change it too much. This one I might actually do a subject selection and brighten it a bit, but it's just going to help me a lot by not having to adjust every single one. So yeah, it did a pretty good job, except this one here. I don't like how green it is, so I would actually increase the magenta. And there you go. And what I can do after I make my changes, I can actually go upload the final edit so that it can then learn from that. So yeah, so that's Imagen AI. I've got the next workshop. If you haven't got on the 18th of March and 26th of March, it's going to be the same. I just offered 2 dates in case you can't make the one on the Tuesday. Then you've got the one on the Wednesday. It's only $30 because it is paid. You'll get access to the recording as well. You can scan the QR code, or if you're already following me on Sony Scene or on there, you can then sign up on Sony Scene. I'm also running other workshops and courses of Sony Scene. I'm working on a course at the moment. I've got an offering that I'm going to launch, which is a VIP day to starting, your pet photography business, where I'll spend the whole day with you to basically get you set up and started in your pet photography business, all the business side of things, knowing where to market, knowing how to market, pricing and things like that. So if you want to sign up to my email list, you can do that. I'll also send an email. But other than that, that's pretty much it. And I think we're nearly pretty much on time. You can visit my website as well, imageinphotography.com/for-photographers. I do have one-on-one mentoring sessions on there as well. Any questions? Thank you. Yeah, Rachel, feel free to reach out if you're just starting your own business, if you need any help in terms of pricing your business model or anything like that. Yeah, reach out to me. Any questions? Awesome. I'm gonna stop sharing. Perfect. So no questions from anyone?
No question. Thank you very much, Ina.
How did you find it? Or was there something that maybe you would like to know that I didn't cover? Or I hope you found it useful.
Was useful. Picked up a couple of things.
Awesome.
Or to our next dog walk.
Yes, are you coming on the 23rd, right?
Yep, I am.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Hopefully I'll see you next time at one of the other webinars. If you guys, I think some of you guys are from Sydney, I will be probably running some workshop there towards the end of the year, middle end of the year, so around maybe July, August. So keep an eye out on my Sony Scene and subscribe to my events if you haven't already, or sign up to my mailing list. So that way you're updated. I'm going to share my mailing list link in the chat. So here it is in the chat. And then I'll also send through the code for Imagen AI for those who want the link for Imagen AI. So those are the links. If you want to try Imagen AI, you can use that whole, make sure you use that whole link with my name in it. And then sign up to my mailing list and I'll let you know when I've got something on offer. I am going to create an online course, which is a self-paced course for pet photography, not just the business, but it's going to cover working through your style, how to create a portfolio that's going to attract clients. And, yeah, so that's in progress at the moment. So if you stay in touch, you'll be the first to access it, and because you're on the mailing list, you'll also get a special discount offer as well. So yeah, other than that, I just want to say thank you again for attending. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I hope you have a lovely rest of the evening, and I'll see some of you at the next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.